Today on People Now, voices from protests after George Floyd's death, personal stories, and what comes next, all in this week's People Cover story.
That's right. Daddy changed the world.
George Floyd's 6-year-old daughter speaking out in a heart-gripping video with Floyd's friend, retired NBA player Steven Jackson.
We have to just get active, not just in the streets, but we got to get active at the voting polls.
Queen Latifah opening up about the George Floyd protest and what she hopes comes next. It's in a People Now exclusive.
Also today, Lea Michele responds after a former Glee co-star accused Lea of tormenting her on set. We'll tell you what she's saying.
The cast of 13 Reasons Why give us the scoop on the 4th and final season of the hit show.
Actress Barnard opens up about her upcoming wedding, and will co-star Hilary Duff play a special role in it?
All that and much more today on People Now. Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to People Now. It's good to see you. Tuesday night was the 8th straight night of protests across the U.S. calling for justice for George Floyd and trying to open up more conversations about race and racism in the country.
Yeah, I'm out here in Wisconsin, so I feel a little disconnected. But Jeremy, what is the curfew like in New York? You talked to me about how it is in New York right now.
Yeah, last night, that was the first night that I actually heard police going around on the streets on their loudspeakers telling everyone, hey, the curfew's coming. Then we did end up seeing some peaceful protests. I could see them from out of my apartment down the block, and the police were there. So it seems like they were happy to contain and sort of maintain a level of control over peaceful protests. So some of that was happening in the city last night.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on right now. Something I've been noticing on social media is it was Blackout Tuesday yesterday, but a lot of people are sharing resources. A lot of the books about race relations are sold out. So I think if you're trying to educate yourselves, go and try to find these resources that people are sharing online, which I think is really great. Well, we have a lot to get to today. We're going to be talking about those protests, also some later topics, starting with this week's People Cover story.
Yes, in this week's new issue of People, we're highlighting the people speaking up and demanding change, including Bobby Brown, who founded the mentorship nonprofit. It's called 100 Girls Leading.
She's been marching since she was a freshman in high school, but for many of the girls aged 9 to 18 that she mentors, the peaceful protest they attended together on Saturday was their first. Brown's message to them and to us: our skin color should not be considered a weapon.
Art Acevedo is the Houston police chief who's been marching alongside protesters. He calls the protests a life-altering experience and wishes people out there who don't understand the Black community's anger could walk with them so they could see the pain that they're feeling for themselves.
Tanis Walker is a community activist who attended a May 30th march in Los Angeles. She spoke out about the issue with looters, saying it's happening because these people are mad. But people look at the looters, oh, it's just a bunch of Black people looting, and the message kind of gets lost. Walker adds, chanting for George Floyd, wanting justice for him, that needs to be clear. We need to fight for that.
Bakari Sellers is an attorney and author whose father was shot during a 1968 protest at South Carolina State University. Sellers tells us, quote, being Black in this country is a perpetual sense of grief, adding, you can either be racist or anti-racist. Those are the only two choices.
All right, stay with us. We'll have more from this week's cover story a little later on in the show, including why protesters believe George Floyd's death is the reason change is finally coming.
George Floyd's young daughter, Gianna, is remembering her late father with pride as protests continue around the country. On Tuesday, retired NBA player Steven Jackson, a longtime friend of Floyd's, shared this clip of him with Gianna on Instagram. Watch.
That's right. Daddy changed the world.
He did what?
Daddy changed the world.
Daddy changed the world.
Now, this video has gone viral. At just 6 years old, obviously she might not know what's fully going on here, but the fact that she's able to be so positive in the face of losing her father is truly touching. I know when I saw this video, I definitely teared up. It's a really emotional, really sweet video of her. Yeah. Jackson captioned his post, "That's right, Gigi. Daddy changed the world. George Floyd, the name of change."
During a press conference on Tuesday, Gianna's mother, Roxy Washington, spoke out about what the officers who killed George took from her daughter.
Gianna does not have a father. He will never see her grow up, graduate. He will never walk her down the aisle. If it's a problem she's having and she needs her dad, she does not have that anymore.
Such an emotional moment there, and Jackson was also at that press conference promising that he would be there for Gianna when she needs it, saying to Washington, quote, "I'm going to walk her down the aisle. I'm going to be there for her. I'm going to be here to wipe your tears. I'm going to be here for you and Gigi."
Jackson set up a GoFundMe for Gianna that is quickly growing. As of Wednesday morning, they amassed more than $600,000 to be placed in a trust for her and her mother.
Lea Michele is apologizing for past behavior after her former Glee co-star Samantha Marie Ware accused her of tormenting her on the set of the series. In a lengthy statement shared exclusively with People, Lea says that while she does not remember making the specific remarks, that is, quote, not really the point. She continues saying, what matters is that I clearly acted in a way which hurt other people. I apologize for my behavior and for any pain which I have caused.
In the statement, she goes on to promise to be better in the future from this experience. And because she's just a couple months away from becoming a mom, she adds, I know I need to keep working to better myself and take responsibility for my actions so that I can be a real role model for my child and so I can pass along my lessons and mistakes so that they can learn from me.
When Samantha Marie Ware noticed Lea's tweet about George Floyd's death on Monday, she called her out for allegedly making her time on set a, quote, living hell. Tweeting that she would never forget, she added that the alleged abusive behavior even made her question a career in Hollywood. Samantha did not provide further detail and did not specifically accuse Lea of any racially discriminatory behavior.
A source close to Lea told People on Wednesday that the actress has reached out to a few of her former cast members and spoke to a couple of them. After Samantha's allegation, the meal kit company HelloFresh also announced that it would be ending its partnership with Lea, stating they don't, quote, condone racism nor discrimination of any kind. However, a source close to Lea tells People that the partnership was nearing its conclusion regardless.
As we head into the 9th day of protests across America, Queen Latifah has some advice for people on what to do next. She told me she hopes the anger on the streets can translate into action at the voting booths and shared her thoughts on how we can make a difference moving forward. Watch.
Well, first of all, I hope we can just pay respect to those who have lost their lives in such heinous ways. Send so much love to everyone out there. We got to really put love out in the world, that vibration of just love into the world. And then we have to just get active, not just in the streets, but we got to get active at the voting polls. Everybody needs to register to vote. We need to get, make sure we're part of the census so we are counted. We need to get the bums out of office who are not doing the job. And we need to vote not just for presidential elections. We need to go from the bottom all the way to the top and just make sure we put people in office who actually care about the people and to make sure that we're all included and that we can be just really a true country that can operate together. And that's just like politically, so I think what's most important is that everybody who feels anger, make sure they register to vote. You can always change your mind later and decide, I'm not voting for anybody. But if you're not registered, then you can't even make that decision at the last minute. So I just want everybody to register to vote, and just become more involved. Get to know your neighbors. I mean, this pandemic has allowed us to see who's right next to us, see who's walking past our house. I've gotten to know a lot more people in my neighborhood than I ever knew before, and actually have conversations, so, we have to do this together. We can't do this by ourselves. And I need our white population to evolve, to get conscious and to don't look at us to do something. You do something, you know what I mean? Look back at history, do a little homework, and let's figure out how we can move forward, because this is not something that that we can do alone. We didn't set it up alone. We definitely can't dismantle it alone, but we can do it together.
I love that. And I will tell you that I'm hearing that message more and more, this time around. Unfortunately, these kinds of things obviously have happened and continue to happen, but I'm hearing that message of that partnership, that white people need to get involved, do their part. To really handshake with the Black community and moving forward with a lot of these issues. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for the challenge and for calling people out on that. And you're right. I think that conversations is where it in many ways begins. We got to humanize each other and not be so sort of like political figures and fall into the trap of, becoming sort of these dehumanized political opponents. You've got to, I don't know, humanization is kind of the key here, I think, in many ways.
But that is the whole point. We're humans. We're all humans. And when certain people are dehumanized, and those others that get to still be humanized, don't say anything about it.
Right.
You react to it, but you don't do anything about it. It allows it to continue.
And we'll have Queen Latifah's full interview next week on People Now, so tune in for that.
Jessica Alba is sharing why it's important to teach our kids about the different social issues facing our country. In this week's issue of People, the actress opens up about the crisis that exploded over the killing of George Floyd. She tells us, quote, "When I see all the hateful, racist activity that has been happening, you realize what really matters." And one thing that really matters to Alba, teaching our kids about systemic racism.
The actress has 3 children, 11-year-old Honor, 8-year-old Haven, and 2-year-old Hayes. And she says because they are Black and Mexican, there is a connection. Alba adds, quote, "You have to have these conversations that feel difficult when it comes to equality and social justice," and emphasizes that you can start early with them.
She believes her children's generation will create change, but adds it's devastating that it's not happening anytime soon. She continues saying, that's how you're going to give them the fire to make sure that that isn't their reality.
Alba isn't only teaching her kids about racism. The Honest Company founder is also teaching them about gender discrimination, especially in the business world. She says she believes corporate America is set up to oppress women, pointing out that women are not being paid as much or given the same opportunities, and adding boardrooms aren't 50-50 and women aren't getting funding for companies.
In the end, Alba's goal is to set an example for her children, and she hopes women like herself can open some doors and pave the way for younger girls like her daughters. She says she wants young girls to know you don't have to be the damsel in distress. You can be the lead. I love that she's teaching her kids these things so early. Really wonderful. All right, now we are switching gears to this.
All right, we are learning more details about why Julianne Hough and Brooks Laich finally decided to call it quits. In this week's issue of People, sources close to Hough and Laich tell us their official split has been a long time coming.
One source says, quote, they tried living apart and spending time apart and also spending more time together to see what would be best. This wasn't a rash decision.
Another source close to Hough says that she has reevaluated her life over the last year and underwent a transformation. The source says she's a deeply different person than she was when they got married, and she's proud of those changes that she's made and doesn't want to go back.
On May 29th, Hough and Laich officially confirmed to People exclusively in a joint statement that they had parted ways. They said, quote, we have lovingly and carefully taken the time we have needed to arrive at our decision to separate. We share an abundance of love and respect for one another and will continue to lead with our hearts from that place. A source says the former couple hope to move forward as deeply loving friends forever.
Hough first sparked rumors of trouble last fall when she removed her wedding ring. She and Laich tied the knot on July 8th, 2017, nearly 3.5 years after they were set up by close friends. We, of course, wish them all the best. All right, stay with us. Molly Barnard is dishing on her engagement and the role her younger co-star, Hilary Duff, will play on her wedding day. Plus, we're talking with the cast of 13 Reasons Why, all about the series coming to an end. Stick around.
The United States is seeking a way forward in the wake of George Floyd's death. We are continuing to cover it all in this week's issue of People.
Yeah, Floyd's death helped push America's long-simmering racial tensions to a boil. Protesters continuing to take to the streets of Minneapolis and more than 100 other cities, expressing fear, despair, and anger. Peaceful marchers have been joined in some places by police themselves who paused to take a knee or join them in conversation.
But some mass gatherings quickly yielded to violence. Buildings were vandalized and looted. Police cars were set on fire and flames burned on the block in front of the White House. Curfews have been put in place in at least 40 cities, and National Guard officers were deployed to at least 21 states.
But it's important that we don't lose sight of the humanity in all of this, and the man who lost his life last Monday, George Floyd. Floyd's friend, Corey Paul, tells People that Floyd was a person of peace, adding he would stand up if it would happen to one of us. Us standing up now is to protect our kids in the future. Another friend of George, affectionately called Big Floyd, tells us George Floyd is the reason we will have change. His name will live on.
And that's the big question right now. Will all of this lead to real change this time? Well, it's definitely sparked a lot of conversations, even among our staff at People Now. While writing this, our producer talked with a few friends about this very issue, including our friend from college, Shaq Dobson, who is confident that George Floyd's death will lead to real change. Dobson says this: America excels at sweeping racial injustices and other problems under the rug. There's so much going on, but due to the pandemic, people aren't living their normal lives. So they are forced to pay attention and are now forced to make a permanent change. Dobson adds, they can't look away and they can't sweep this under the rug. I think that's a really great perspective here. We are kind of all at home on lockdown. I mean, now people are protesting, but it's giving you more time to actually think about all the injustices that have been going on in this country for so long. So I sincerely hope that this does actually affect change.
Agreed. All right, Matt Bomer is remembering the late icon Larry Kramer in this week's issue of People. The famous playwright and AIDS activist died May 27th at the age of 84 after a long battle with pneumonia.
Bomer opens up about Kramer's legacy and writes in part, it's because of Larry Kramer, his courage, his founding of the Gay Men's Health Crisis and ACT UP, his activism for HIV/AIDS, and his inspiring books and plays that we in the LGBTQ community are proud of who we are now.
Kramer was a trailblazer for gay rights. His early activism surrounding the AIDS crisis is credited with helping shape national health policy in the 1980s and 90s. Kramer himself dealt with HIV, the virus that causes AIDS. Bomer goes on to say that Kramer's poetic, relentless anger inspired many people, and that Kramer understood that silence equals death.
A few of Kramer's most notable works include The Destiny of Me and The Normal Heart, which is a play based on his own life. Bomer first read these at just 14 years old and says his words cracked my world open.
A little over 20 years after he was first introduced to those works, Bomer was cast in the movie adaptation of The Normal Heart when he got to meet his idol. According to Bomer, Kramer exceeded his expectations with his sense of humor, his curiosity, tenderness, and heart.
His activism and written works helped pave the way for many who came after him. Bomer writes, even before I met him, Larry's words taught me to value myself and connect with my community, to support those who are struggling, to love and care for myself, not only my sexual health and well-being, but as a gay man and a human being. I hope I told him that he saved my life, because he did.
All right, now we switch gears and move on to this. Watch.
Actress Molly Barnard stars in Milkwater, a new drama currently streaming for free at the Brooklyn Film Festival, taking place virtually until June 7th. She also recently got engaged. I caught up with her and got some details on the engagement and whether good friend and younger co-star Hilary Duff is going to be a part of her wedding. And fun fact, Molly actually officiated Hilary's wedding back in December. Watch this. I have to say congratulations on your recent engagement on Instagram. You wrote, we said yes. And on another post, someone asked if you proposed to each other. Someone said yes. I mean, how did it all go down? Did you know that this was gonna happen?
Well, yes, we had talked about, we both agreed we would like to become engaged at some point. And then I was nagging and I kept saying, basically every day I said to Hannah, I was like, okay, so is today the day you're going to propose? Or like, what are we gonna do? So I was rehearsing for a play called Houseplant that was downtown in New York. And I came home from rehearsal, I had a really crappy day. And it was dark and there were candles everywhere. And Hannah was really dressed up. And Henry, our dog, our one dog at the time, had a bow tie on that said second parent adoption, ? And Hannah was like, are you ready? And I said, oh my gosh, this is crazy that we're doing it. And she proposed to me. And that same week, I proposed to her.
That is so adorable.
It was so...
That's just so special. So when you first came home, that was a surprise to you. But did you know when you saw the candles and everything?
When I saw the candles, yes, but she really tricked me. I had no idea. And to be totally honest, that morning we woke up and I said, so are you going to do it today? Joking. I was fully joking. And she was like, no, we should just do it this summer, I think. I think let's do it this summer. So I was like, oh, it's so long, summer. Because this was in February. But she got me good. She really tricked me. I was truly, and I had never, I don't know if you're engaged or married. This is like a thing that I had never felt before. Like I felt heat all over my body. And I said to Hannah, did you ever think you would do this? This is such a crazy thing.
Was there a moment, maybe it's a cheesy question, but was there a moment where you thought, wait, this is the real deal. I've never felt this before. I actually want to marry this person.
Yes, extremely. Very early on. I mean, to be totally frank and open, I had never dated a woman before, but I knew very early on that I was just deeply, deeply falling in love. And that, you know how I really knew? I didn't want to mess it up. I was so well behaved and so joyful, and I really respected her. I think in the past I kind of struggled to be my best self, and all I wanted to do was be overwhelmingly good. And I thought, okay, I'm totally smitten. I want to spend the rest of my days with this person.
Now, you officiated Hilary Duff and Matthew Coma's wedding in December. So are you planning on having Hilary kind of play a special role in your wedding?
Oh, 100% yes. Yes. And now, our date was always going to be for next year. So we're still hoping we can have it. But I know Hill has a lot of plans up her sleeves.
Oh, okay. Well, is she going to be officiating or maybe something else?
I don't know. We really haven't discussed any of that yet. Banks is my goddaughter, so I definitely need her. I kind of want Banks to walk me down the aisle or something.
Cute.
One of the hardest parts about being in quarantine is that I have all of this free time, and it's been really hard not being able to spend time with them because they really are like my second family, and it's it's too scary to get on a plane, and you know, it's so complicated and sad, but I keep seeing videos of Banks and she's getting so big, and it's hard not to be. I'm used to seeing Hillary so much, and she's such a huge part of my life, and it's such a bummer. It's so crazy to even think about planning. Like, you're asking me these questions, and I'm like, oh my God, right, we have to plan a wedding.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at that wedding, you actually officiated alongside Christopher Mintz-Plasse, who a lot of fans know as McLovin from Superbad, so that's pretty epic. I mean, what was your favorite memory from that whole experience?
Honestly, the way Chris and I wrote, we basically wrote a script. We had both officiated friends' weddings before, and we were so nervous and excited, and we decided that I would do like the sappy kind of heartfelt writing, and he would do the comedy writing, and he's a genius. His jokes were so funny. Collaborating on that with him was so sweet. I mean, he's a genius, and has like, he kept saying like I was writing the sappy stuff, but actually his heart is so big. It was so sweet.
You can see Molly in the film Milkwater streaming for free right now at the Brooklyn Film Festival, taking place virtually until June 7th.
Don't freak out.
The fourth and final season of Netflix's hit and sometimes controversial series, 13 Reasons Why, premieres Friday, June 5th. Our producer, Sam Belikoff, caught up with some of the cast in person before the coronavirus lockdown. They spoke all about what it was like wrapping up this series. Take a look.
Series endings are always highly scrutinized, so obviously you can't spoil, but what do you think? Is the end controversial? Can you tease that?
I mean, it wouldn't be 13 Reasons Why without it.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I think it definitely tackles something we haven't done before, but controversial? Do you think there's going to be a lot of mixed... There's going to be a lot of mixed feelings, but...
Be mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about the full season or like the finale?
Like the finale, yeah?
A-
Full season.
Yeah.
Let's just say both.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nuts.
What was the last day like on set for each of you?
I left in tears. It was like, without spoiling anything, I had to cry for my scene. Oh my, I was a mess. And then they were like, that's, because Brian Yorkie, our like creator and our writer, was directed the last episode. And he came up to me before the scene and was like, all right, you know, we already got it. It's your last take. It's your last take as Jessica Davis.
Oh my God. 4
seasons, you got it. This is it. It's time to say goodbye. Before we even started yelling, I was like, and then for 2 hours afterwards, I was like getting my hair and makeup removed, and I was like, crying the whole time.
I think I still had like another couple scenes after you wrapped, and I kept like walking back to my trailer, and we're always next to each other. And I was like, you haven't left yet? And she's like, it was so good. Especially because I feel like you, throughout the season, were like, ready for this to be over.
It's like, I'm done.
You're just deflecting. You were just like ignoring your true feelings.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny.
But yeah, there was a lot of crying.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Yeah. No, I think my last scene, was also a heavy crying scene. Oh, yeah. It was outside the place.
Yeah.
With you.
The place.
Yeah. Outside the place with you, with Justin. Yeah.
So I don't think this is giving anything away because people know that shows aren't filmed chronologically. Who was on the final day of filming?
I was, yeah.
What was that like the last day of this show? Like, was for the crew and everything? What was the emotion on set?
Yeah, I'll talk, like the crew. Some of the crew, and they had done special things, so like we had more insight because they had like these dinners for the crew, like specifically who had been there since season 1.
They called it like the Survivors Dinner.
Yeah, the Survivors Dinner, that's exactly what they called it.
So funny.
But so moved and so like honored to be a part of this show, and it was really cool as the actor who you sometimes like, you can be the narcissist on set and you're like, this show's about me and every actor, and then you're like, actually like nothing is possible without these people. I know for most projects I'll go on, all projects I'll go on, I'll be keeping that feeling in mind because they definitely care.
The whole cast, who would you say is the most emotional wrapping?
Amy.
Yeah.
Amy. Amy plays Lainey.
mom.
Yeah.
Amy was doing that same thing, like you'd turn to her and she'd
She was doing it like when we started filming. It's like it's our first table read of the season, but it's our first last one. We'll never have a first one of the season again.
Yeah.
She was crying.
All season, yeah.
She pretty much the whole season.
All season.
What advice would you give yourself from before the show? Like if you could speak to yourself before you started filming 13 Reasons Why.
I would tell myself, hey, you're gonna be doing this for 4 years with these people. Just don't wait like a year or two to just like really open up to them, because it took me a couple.
It did.
Well, it's like going from project to project when I was younger.
Why are you laughing?
But that's gorgeous. That's like great advice.
Yeah.
Mine would just be like, have fun. Don't get angry about the small stuff. Enjoy this journey, because it's the first of many. At least for me, it was.
Yeah, I think I got when it first happened after the first season, and we all got that like influx of followers. I paid way too much attention to that, and made me so like you like start looking at yourself way more. So it's like so not part of your job at all, and it's not important at all. So it's just, wish I could have told like little 19-year-old me, like, just get off Instagram. It doesn't matter what people say you look like, you know?
We also asked the cast about the bonds they've made over the years and their favorite things to do together. Take a look.
Well,
I love eating with Ross.
Yeah, we do eating and coffee.
Yeah, we're very...
All three of us, actually. Yeah. We went to a bunch of restaurants in Berkeley and San Fran. But I lived with 3 of my castmates this year, and we just had people over from the cast all over. This last season, we really did feel like we were having, at least for me, the most fun.
Yeah.
So we'll just have like game nights and eat.
You know, the show is so intense. Like, how do you keep it light on set?
Everyone is so funny on like every cast member. We tend to have a really funny crew too as well.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of humor that you can't run away from, you know? Even if you want to like be that guy who's like, no, I'm gonna stay sad, I'm gonna stay angry. It's like almost
can't do that for
impossible.
4 years, man. Yeah.
And just everyone lifts each other, so it was nice. Like,
and there's like this incredible trust we built over the years. So especially like after the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th season, we're able to do these like scenes where they're so dramatic. I mean, not dramatic, but like very hard, and you know, they're very serious. But if we have to create these moments of lightness in between takes, and the crew the crew knows us so well that they can pick up on like what we need at that time. So like I've had scenes where I've had to cry, and then like 5 minutes after I'm like laughing hysterically, and then having to go back into it because it's
go into the hair and makeup trailer.
Yeah.
Like, I always hung out in there because I was like, people will come in and I need to like let go.
Also, there were like 12 dogs on set.
Yeah.
Like everybody had their dogs, whether it be the cast or the crew.
Hair and makeup had dogs.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was awesome though. They're just like always emotional support dogs.
I miss Willie Nelson.
Oh.
We had a dog named, the costume dog's name is Willie Nelson.
Bill.
Bill.
He's an ugly dog. so cute, but so ugly.
You can catch the 4th and final season of 13 Reasons Why when all episodes drop on Netflix Friday, June 5th.
Coming up tomorrow, sexual health expert Dr. Jennifer Berman is explaining how the coronavirus pandemic has affected our relationships, sexual health, and intimacy.
And she's sharing the one issue that she has with people who are online dating at this time. She was really great to talk to. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.
Bye, guys.